just got off a knee surgery, did you not?
Yes, yeah, I had my right knee replaced. And the doctors advised me not to fly for at least 2 months. And on my way over here on Friday night, I understood why. So it was, yeah, man, it's tough. It was an agonizing flight. But some of you may know you've been at my table. How many of you have been at my table so far? So you're the people I like more than everyone else. Last week, my daughter and I did a fundraiser for Puerto Rico, and I couldn't get up from my chair at all. And in this case, I think I've gotten up just about every single time, right? So, yeah, it's coming along. It's getting a little better every day.
I've seen videos of knee surgery on YouTube, and I watch the doctors, and they're taking like hammers to the devices that are in your leg. Is that actually how it goes down?
It's pretty brutal, man. They basically saw your leg in half below the knee and above the knee, and then they put attachments on there. I'd had my hip replaced. Oh, in case you're wondering, most of the things I did in my career were not smart. And the old-timers who warned me about the price that I was going to pay were correct. So I had the hip replaced in April and then rehabbed it pretty thoroughly. They warned me, like, the knee's tough, man.
Is the knee, is it one of the things that goes first, too?
Well, in my case, I did a lot of structural damage. I got to reach out to the guy, I think his name is Mark Briscoe, who's dropping the elbow off the ring apron and say, I'm like Jacob Marley to his Ebenezer Scrooge. And I'm like, don't do it, man. It's the worst move you can possibly do for your body. Like, you have to really hate yourself to do that move. And what had happened, my knee was locked at a 24-degree angle. So I couldn't straighten it for the last 10 years. So I started putting all my weight on one foot, and then your body is miraculous in that it will do whatever it takes to keep your eyes looking straight. That's the body's primary purpose. Now, I wish my body had checked with me and said, if I'd known, okay, the way we deal with this is we're going to curve your spine to the left.
Yeah, how important is seeing straight, really?
And it's also important, to take note of the fact, when you get off a plane and 10% of the time people say, excuse me, sir, do you need assistance? That's one thing. When the number starts getting up to 70%, or 7 out of 10 times they go, do you need assistance? No, I feel fine. I should have realized, I wasn't walking very well, I basically start walking side to side instead of forward. And that's in direct violation of the Chris Kringle song, put one foot in front of the other.
Exactly.
It's not move one foot to the side
and shuffle off.
I'm losing the non-Christmas fans here, right?
If you was here having a booth, I guarantee they'd be lined up around the block. What's your deal with pain, Mick? Do you enjoy it?
No.
Does it motivate you?
No. It's not like I used to hate it. I don't want to say hate. Hate's a bad word. I strongly dislike the idea that I enjoyed pain. Because that would almost give people the idea that I was at home, putting my hand on a hot oven, and I didn't. When that red light was on, it was an anesthetic of sorts. And even when the red light wasn't on, there were people there. I did things because there was a crowd in front of me, and because I thrived on reactions that I would never do. I was not the crazy guy who got drunk and headbutted walls, I had a certain style of wrestling that I liked, and I realized that I was, hold on. Sorry, I didn't know this would be this difficult, but I have a confession to make. I'm not a naturally gifted athlete. And so I love the way Bruiser Brody brawled, and I love the way the Dynamite Kid used his body as a weapon. I thought, okay, I'm not as tough as Brody, and I certainly can't do what Dynamite Kid does, but if I blend them together, and this is even before I thought about ripping off Terry Funk's entire repertoire. So it turns out you blend Dynamite Kid, Bruiser Brody, borrow liberally from Terry Funk. That's with an N in case the parents are listening. Funk with an N. Yeah, it turned out to be a pretty winning hand.
Yeah. When you, oh, sorry, actually, before we get into more questions, if you do have a question here, there's a microphone over there. If you can get over there and start a lineup if you have a question.
And may I just bring up a point?
Yeah.
I know, William Shatner was here. And he had requested nobody record the Q&A, and then he was live streaming.
Was it the whole time?
Yeah, as he did it. I'm just going to say that the less cameras are on, the more honest I can be.
Now we're talking.
So if you want if you want like the standard correct answer, film it. Want a good Q&A, put it down and enjoy the experience as it is.
Be in the moment with us.
Be in the moment with us. It's just for us, right? And while I was walking over here, I was like, I remembered a story and I forgot it by the time I got here. So I recall somebody mentioned, hey, you're a bigger star than William Shatner. I'm like, no, there's no way. And you know how you can prove that?
How?
Because Bill Shatner is so big that he's become a verb. Right?
Yes.
Like I even said, like in the reality show, Foley, where there is some producing involved, where I acted shocked that there might be music in Elf the Musical. And I said, I can't sing. I said, can I just Bill Shatner my way through it? And the fact that the lady knew exactly what I was talking about, we all know what Bill Shatnering is, right?
Yeah.
And so again, it's a reality show. Not everything you see in a reality show is 100% real. So my way of dealing with that problem was, of course, to call up heavy metal legend Dee Snider and ask if he might give me some singing tips. And I knew when Dee wanted me to sing Come All Ye Faithful, that he already had his own version.
Yeah,
like he has a great speed metal version. And so I'm thinking on my feet, and I'm like, okay, I can't sing the regular version. How can I make this version different? And I just draw upon Bill Shatner, and I went, come, faithful.
You did.
Joyful, triumphant, come. And by the time I got to the word Bethlehem, it was a good thing they cut because I busted out laughing right away. It was so ridiculous. And then Dee, not even knowing about the Bill Shatner record, goes, gee, there's something about it. Said it sounds like you just shat that out, which is another verb. So until I can become big enough, and it's not many people whose names become verbs. Bill Shatner, Peter North, that's about it. Oh, how dare you know what I'm talking about?
The cameras are down.
You laughed. All right, somebody knows.
There should be a verb. It should be called you're Mick Foleying it when you're an athlete and you hurt yourself, but you keep going.
Wait, hold a second. There is a borderline bad word that might ask the kids, parents to apply the earmuffs to the children. Because Kevin James in King and Queen said, watch it before I cactus jack your buttocks. So I guess I am a verb. So
You really are a cultural phenomenon. So many personas in the ring. Do love Mankind, Cactus Jack. Did you ever find the lines of your own personality blurring with your on-stage personality in a negative way?
Yeah, they call that living the gimmick. And I did at times live the gimmick.
Yeah.
I did talk in my first book about a girl I met in Texas. When I would go out and be in character, you were always in character at the show. So I met her in character and did not know how to break it to her that I was different in real life.
Because did you feel lame in real life compared to your
well,
characters?
I just knew Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Was not. He did not have a successful history with romance. Cactus Jack seemed to be doing a little bit better. She's clearly fallen for Cactus Jack, and started to figure it out. She realized I may have been a little too nice. And then when she was drinking, she told me I was too nice. And she had a Texas accent. She said, John, women don't like nice. I think, what do you? And I was like, I don't think that's a good sign for women.
Yeah.
When you put it out there that you want to be mistreated, and that if someone's nice, they're not. All right? Am I right?
Because they love nice guys finish last. They always say you gotta be aggressive, and then
Yeah. So yeah.
We got some questions. It looks like over here. First off, what's your name, sir? Oh, can we get this mic on at the side stage here? Sorry, go ahead. Your name?
That's good. Again, my name is Mark.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good. This is a two-parter.
Is that fair to the other people?
Geez.
All right, let's see how it goes. Let's take that first part first.
Take the first part first.
Okay, I'm convinced Mick Foley, 2018 Hall of Fame. Who would you like to see induct you? And your favorite Al Snow joke?
I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Okay,
Maybe they
well,
get
this guy really blew his two-part question, man.
When they start getting desperate, they'll try to induct like the Rocket Sock Connection.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I'm in there, man. So I was really lucky because during the year that I was inducted, they had a lot of star power. Stephanie inducted Trish Stratus. Mr. McMahon inducted the current United States President. Even Maria Menounos inducted Bob Backlund, so I was allowed to have whoever I wanted. So I had Terry Funk with an N induct me, and he did a great job. So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, next guy. What's your name and what's your question for Mick?
My name's Gordon. My question is, Mick, over the course of your career, ECW, Japan, WCW, WWE, you guys are on the road a lot, you're not at home a lot. In each time frame, say those four, who were your closest comrades, your buddies that you were always with, so that, you passed time well, overseas, whatever?
Yeah, so WCW, the beginning, first year of my run, it was crazy. It was when I was a freshman in college. I was a huge wrestling fan, and I taped a photo of Abdullah the Butcher up to my wall and just started the rumor that he was my father. To the point where it became accepted as fact. And so it was very strange. I don't know, ironic or just coincidental that he became my tag team partner when I got to WCW in 1991. This is my first time in WCW, man. I lived up to the Thrifty, the legend, the Thrifty guy. And whoever was willing to help me out. And it turned out that the Jim Cornette and the Rock and Roll Express kind of took me under their wing. So it not only was a valuable learning experience to hear Jim Cornette talking, for 4 hours a day, it was also a valuable learning experience when I would put a glass up to my hotel room wall to hear what was going on in Stan Lane's room. So I learned a lot.
How about yourself, Sarah? We'll do one more question here. Actually, let's do two more.
My name's Greg. I want to talk about your love of Christmas.
Yes.
Is it something you loved as much as you do now all your life, or is it something that's intensified it since
You know what? What I'll do is I'll incorporate that question into the other. I didn't follow up by saying Abdullah the Butcher, right? And then when Abdullah left WCW, I was traveling often with Stone Cold, who was stunning Steve Austin at the time. Traveled with Paul Heyman quite a bit. And then when I got to ECW, I got to WWE. ECW, I honestly can't remember who I traveled with. Honestly, I think they had somebody pick me up and take me to the cities. Al Snow was my buddy. Al Snow and Bob Holly did a lot of trips with us. And this is where I'm going to tie in an event that happened. And the two young ladies over there know where I'm going with this. Should I hit him with this type of honesty? So Abdullah the Butcher drove with me and my wife. Abdullah, arguably the most violent wrestler in the history of the business, with the highest voice. He's actually not from Sudan. He's from Windsor. And we had like a 400-mile trip, and he got out. My wife's in the front seat, Abdul's in the back, and he was like, Champ, I've been holding a fart for 400 miles. So as to not offend my wife.
What a good guy.
That's a classy
I
guy.
like that characteristic too. Scary guy with a funny voice like Mike
Funny
Tyson.
voice, with a funny voice, willing to hold a fart in for 400 miles. So I tried to learn from that experience. And during my photo op today, there were these two young ladies, and they just lit up the little studio with their smiles, right? So when they came back at the photo sign, they're next, right? They're coming up, and I'm posing with a father and son. And I inadvertently let one slip. And thought, well, maybe it'll be the unscented kind. And it wasn't. And fortunately, the girl working the table with me makes homemade soaps. So the ladies saw me like bring out a bar of soap and start waving it around, loving on it. Because I wanted so badly for that experience to be a good one for them. And it worked out okay, right? And now they got a story to tell. All right. But what I hope, and I know the prices are kind of expensive. I know the prices are pretty steep. And I know not everybody's come up to the table, but the goal is when people leave the table, they think the time and money they spent was worth it. And so when I heard yesterday that one of the guys at one of the wrestling tables said, man, I gotta tell you, people are like beaming when they come to your table. So I work really hard. I try to make it the best experience. And I go back to when Tori Amos hugged me in 2008. And I knew like that experience was just magical to me. Then my friend Jill Thompson, who has done 2 of my children's books, said, that's how I felt when I met you in 1999. I went, no. She went, yes, I made you feel like you made me feel. And at that point I thought, I need to up my game. Between the Tori Amos photo and then seeing Henry Winkler, the Fonz, who treat people, very impressive. If anyone's ever seen it, he's like the bar. Like he was the coolest guy in the world when I was a kid. And he's walking up and down the line, and it's like, he's like greeting people who aren't even in his line. And then I said, geez, that Henry Winkler's a nice guy. And the guy next to me goes, dang, just came up to my kids and started doing magic tricks yesterday. So I'm like, well, I don't know magic, but I think I can start getting up to my table, being a little nicer. All right, question.
Oh, your love of business. So it's something you've always loved since you were a kid, has gotten more intense since you become an adult?
Well, as it turns out, I have a memoir that answers that question. And it's coming out just a couple days. And my speculation is that when I was on the road for long periods of time, and I was, I wrestled a very physical style, so I was banged up almost all the time. I was a little lonely some of the time, and I had 2 small children, and so we would really make a big deal out of Christmas. So we look forward to Christmas for months to come, and then when they got to be like 2 and 3, we look forward to our annual visits to a place called Santa's Village in the mountains of New Hampshire. There's another Santa's Village in Bracebridge, Ontario. Supposed to be beautiful. I've never been there, but I think trying to extend that Christmas season as a way of, anticipating time with the family was how I fell so in love with the holiday.
Sure. That's fantastic, and I think that just proves how good of a family man you are, to be honest with you. Now, I have, you can go ahead. You've been waiting for a long time. We'll let you go there, Iron.
I just wondered, I'm trying to read faces, and the hardcore fans are like, where's all the blood, man? I don't want to hear this sentimental stuff.
Hi, Mick. I'm Paul. I'm a Thames Valley teacher, and I just had a question about your one book, Foley is Good. At the last part of your book, it's almost like an essay about your reaction to the Parent Television Council's criticism about wrestling and how it was overwhelmingly violent. And I was just wondering if you could give us your 2 cents. Has your perspective on that changed at all? Especially now that, the Attitude Era has ended, and now we're into a totally different sort of product that's coming out?
Well, it's tricky, especially now that a U.S. president calling everything fake news. You know, it does a great disservice to the people who work hard to bring the news and the people who lost their lives covering wars and events to bring you the news. But I did find that when this study from Indiana University was being hailed, you know, as fact, and I was reading the outrageous instances he listed, and I'm like, I'm on that show. Like, I don't remember like 270 instances of simulated drug use. And so I called the professor who did the study at Indiana University, thinking I'd just get a no comment. And he actually called me back. And he talked to me for about an hour and a half, and I was really surprised to find that no one else had asked him about his findings. And I'm a wrestler with a telephone. This is before the internet, right? That may have been its infancy. And so when I said, okay, you know, the 272 instances of drug use, I said, I think simulated drug use. I said, would that be like somebody going, roll a fatty for this pimp daddy, light that mother up and say, pimpin' ain't easy? And he went, oh, no. And I say, would it be a guy saying, your butt is grass and I'm going to smoke it? And he said, no. And I go, well, honestly, I don't remember seeing any simulated drug use. And he said, well, that would be beer drinking. I was like, ooh, it's a little misleading. And then as far as the sexual behavior, I was like, I don't remember that. He goes, well, say a man put his hand on a woman's shoulder. Like, it's just the sexual act. He goes, well, if it was done suggestively. So what I did is I just taped Cheers for like a week. And General Hospital. And it was like, well, these drug users on Cheers, you know, not to mention those caffeine addicts on Friends, you know, it's all relative. And then it was like the shocking amount of sexual activity on General Hospital at 3 p.m. just dwarfed, you know, what we were doing on Raw. So it was, I mean, I just thought it was sad for me to see how little trusted news organizations were. I think wrestling's almost beneath, you know, people think it's beneath contempt, so they don't even investigate. There's a very good reporter named Margaret Carlson, and she referred to The Rock as an anti-black, anti-gay skinhead. And I was like, The Rock is black. Father's African American, mother's Samoan, and I think she just got The Rock confused with Steve Austin. And I never thought Steve Austin portrayed anyone who was anti-gay or anti-black. But the point was, if she had made a similar reference to somebody else in pop culture, she probably would have been reprimanded or fired. But the feeling, just wrestling. And I thought it was awful, man. So I called him on it. And my wife still resents the 6 months that I spent studying all that stuff, you know. But I thought it was important. Like, I really thought that defending the company it meant a lot to me. People will say, like, they'll question why I'm critical of the company sometimes. They go, hey, I know of only one guy who spent 6 months of their life defending the company for free, you know. And when that lawsuit came out, and WWE won millions of dollars from the Parents Television Council, it's almost like you could go right down the line of things I said and said, yes, I was right. And I still have a box of things, a box that was returned to me during the lawsuit. They asked for all my materials. And I asked the WWE, why would they want my materials? I said, because I don't think they think you did your own research. I'll box up everything I got with notebooks filled with stuff, you know, like, and I still have the box at home, but sorry to get off on a tangent, but it bothered me because I love WWE, I still love WWE, and it hurt me to see people saying such bad things about it, and I thought I had the capability of defending it, and I did.
Okay, just like you called it a little bit earlier, I think we do see a little bloodlust in the crowd stories here. So let's just get into it. What was, you must have told this story a million times right now, but what was the single most painful moment in your wrestling career? Or
I can answer that the honest way or the cool way.
Yeah.
The honest way is I dropped an elbow on Ron Simmons, the Clash of the Champions 25th anniversary, and thought I broke my pelvis. And it turned out I tore the abdominal muscle off my bone, but I didn't know how. That's a career ender in football, you know. So I only missed 2 days. I just adapted. And I made it to the show the next day, even though I couldn't walk. And I'm gonna go somewhere. I won't. No.
Who's got their camera on?
All right. The next day, my blood drains down, right? So when Randy Orton repeatedly punched me in the head, trying to open up a wound in my eyebrow, missing each and every time, within about 3 days, all the blood drained down. I was like the worst black eye imaginable. So if you tear your abdominal muscle, the blood will drain down, turning my genitalia black. But unfortunately, it remained the same size. I don't know, I get away with that in 2001. I hope it's so good. We cool with that?
Speaking of inappropriate, let's let this 10-year-old kid What's your name, little man?
How badly did it hurt when you were sent through the top of the cell in Hell in a Cell?
Oh man.
Who's seen that video? Who watched that? Come on, who hasn't seen that?
You know what? This is why I feel like Bill Murray in an airing of Groundhog's Day that's been going on for 19 years. Because that's the question I get all the time. And I go back, I've been one of my shows, right, in Kansas City, and the guy didn't ask a question during the Q&A. He waited until the end, and he comes up to me and goes, I'm doing the signing, and he goes, hey, I noticed that when The Undertaker threw you off the cell, okay, he goes, that you landed on a table. And I said, yeah, I did. He goes, whispered, he goes, it broke your fall, didn't it? And I said, yes, it did. He said, so you didn't get hurt? And I said, not at all. And then I leaned to him and I whispered, it was a magic table. So yeah, it did hurt. You know, it did hurt for a long time, and even the teeth I lost, you know, I had to fix it. The next, so I'm thinking they're the hip and the knee this year, next year it's board teeth. So I'll get 2 more extracted, and it's like a $15,000 procedure. And unlike other injuries, you know, which are hard to point out exactly when they happen, like, I'm hoping I can go to Mr. McMahon and go, no, I know when this one happened. You know, it was not a problem before this match. It became a problem after. So I'll let you know how they go. But yeah, it still hurts, all right? Physically and emotionally.
Now you get...
Sorry.
Now, man, you get asked a lot of questions about the pain that's been inflicted on you. I want to ask something about inflicting pain on other people. When you're developing characters and you're going through the repertoire of it, what's the genesis of how you come up with the big finishing moves? Like, what made you think of doing the mandible claw and doing all those finishing moves whenever you're creating those characters?
Well, the mandible claw was suggested to me by Jim Cornette. It's got a cool background to it. It was actually the move developed by Dr. Sam Shepard, who was the inspiration for the TV show and the movie The Fugitive. And he was the real-life doctor accused of murder. He was exonerated after death. He was judged not guilty, but never innocent. I don't know what the difference exactly is. And whether he chose not to continue his vocation in medicine or whether he was not able to, he became a wrestler in in the southern territories of the United States. He was kind of slight of build, so he had to use his knowledge of the human anatomy. So he developed a nerve hold called the mandible claw. And I just thought as I got to be like 29, 30 years old, that maybe a finishing move where I fly off an apron and land on a concrete floor might need a little change. So I explained it to Bill Watts in WCW, and he responded with, "Why wouldn't I bite your GD fingers off?" I tried explaining the nerve under the tongue and under the chin would make that, and he didn't buy it. I gave it to Mr. McMahon, and he did buy it. So that was inspired by, brought to me by Jim Cornette, courtesy of Dr. Sam Shepard. And then one day when I visited Mr. McMahon in the hospital and came out with a sock puppet,
Legendary.
it seemed like a natural progression to put that sock on the hand.
Yeah.
At which point everyone forgot that it was a nerve hold. They stuck that sock down his throat, you know. So for all those brothers and sisters who were tormented by a sock-wielding sibling, sorry.
Yeah, and you know what's worse about that? My brother's socks always were on his feet beforehand. Yours at least just came out of the side of your pants.
Well, they did originally come off my feet.
Oh, did they?
And then I was quickly becoming the least popular person in the second Al Snow was there. So, but I did. I realized that, that probably was not only time-consuming, but also unnecessary.
Are you guys in a line to ask a question? Or are you guys just hanging out? Just having a beer? You have a question? Okay. We don't have too much time left, so if we can just make a quick
Time's
answer.
kind of flying here, right? So not to guilt anyone, but I will be at the table for the next 2 hours.
Come on, guys.
We hope to see some of you over there.
Absolutely.
But we appreciate. But the truth is, you can't have these conventions without the panels.
Yeah.
Because they bring people in, and we all love them. And so even if people don't come to the table, it's still really important that you support the panels because they're part of what makes these conventions happen. So thank you, all of you, for coming out here.
Mick, Mike.
Yep.
So The Rock's supposed to be running for president in 2020. Do you think we can see a Rock and Sock presidency?
Rock and Sock
I answer the question very seriously when I say I think he would be a very good, I think he'd surround himself with really good people. He's very thoughtful, you know, and nobody works harder. But the moment I say, hey, they put me on the ticket, it becomes a joke. So it becomes very clear that no, I would endorse him in a second, you know. I'd go out and speak on his behalf, but I would not run. I would not run on that ticket, you know. Although, you know what? Some of you may have read the article I wrote about Stephanie McMahon. I believe I think she's a special person, but I think she's destined for greatness in whatever area she wants it, whether it's continue with WWE, but I believe she's a natural leader, and maybe if she chooses to stand for politics, probably do pretty well. Yeah. But I would, The Rock, especially as an independent, I don't know how many follow, so depressing, you know, and it was just, if somebody was out there would bring people together, it would really do a lot for the morale of the U.S., you know, so I would endorse that in a heartbeat.
Thanks for the question, Mike. Yeah, Rock really is like one of those just incredibly charismatic guys. But I read an article a while ago that he was racist. So I don't know.
I heard he's anti-black and anti-Samoan.
Okay, so we're about out of time here, folks. Now, Mick, you mentioned earlier quickly that you have a memoir coming out. When is it coming out?
Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah. I go to New York City. We have what's called a live signing. I stream it live on my Facebook page, which is Real Mick Foley. And like people can ask questions. We sign books that have been ordered, and then I won't be coming to Canada on any of the stops. It's not a book that's likely to sell well, and I didn't write it with the expectation that it would sell at all. I just wrote it because I thought I had an interesting story, and I really wanted to put it down. And it was, you know, among other things, like a gift to my younger children, and something I wanted to document so that I could remember these wonderful experiences I've had, like really, really great experiences, like things that I was leaving a house on Christmas Eve, and I was helping Santa out as an ambassador. And I said to my son, who's my eldest, I feel like I just had a pay-per-view match. He goes, Dad, there were only 3 people there. And I said, it doesn't matter. It's just about creating something special and trying to like put something together that this family can remember for a long time. So I love it, and it's I donated the forward for the audio and the written part to children's charities. I don't expect it's going to outsell the forward, so it's kind of a labor of love, but it's a G-rated book that's not for children, if you know what I mean, But it's a good, for those who like my sentimental side, which is probably like 1/10 of you, there's no graphic depictions of losing body parts in this one. But there's I counted 60 different pages containing wrestling references. So there is some wrestling in it. And including a chapter where I tried to convince Mr. McMahon to let me leave Madison Square Garden after my induction on a sleigh, driven by Santa Claus.
You turned that down? That's amazing.
And he went, why the hell would I want to do that?
By the way, what's the name of the memoir in case people want to buy it online?
Saint Mick.
Saint Mick.
Can I give you my answer? Why the hell would I want to do that? And I said, because I love Santa.
Now, just to leave on one note, Mick, I just respect you so much because I grew up such a huge wrestling fan, such a huge fan of yours. You found something you loved, wrestling, and you did it to the max, as much as any man could ever do. What advice do you have for anybody out there who has a similar passion and they want to be as successful as you are at it?
Well, this is I think I've written 2 wise things about it, things that I think are really profound. And one of them is, you don't let anyone define what being a success is. Like, to you get to make that up for yourself. And I can tell you, I close out my book by talking about how being out there on the walkway for WrestleMania, 101,000 people. And Shawn Michaels went first, I came out second, Steve Austin's music hit. I'd never been in front of 101,000 people before, I likely never will again. I knew every eyeball was on Steve. So I just took that next minute, looked around, took it all in, and I appreciated every second of it. It was amazing. But I don't know if it was any better than being in that living room in front of those 3 people, So if you're a wrestler and you work hard and you get fulfillment from it, you're entertaining people, as far as I'm concerned, you're a success. Anyone has the courage to try something that's difficult, whether it's stand up. Michelle O'Shaughnessy out there, right? How difficult is it, when you bomb on stage? Oh my God, it hurts worse than any, at least if your match is tanking in wrestling, you can pull out a big move, you can maybe salvage it. Man, it's a bad feeling when you're on that stage and things are not going your way. And I've been in situations where I wish I could just dig a hole, or the hole would develop and just swallow me up so I could get off of there. And it's so I see somebody get on that stage and they're likely not going to make any money. Courage it takes to get up there, it's all in the journey. So that's the advice. Don't let anyone define for you what being a success is. But I will say that if you hit 52 and you can get away with wearing a fanny pack in public and sweatpants, that's successful. So.